My game is about solving an identity crisis. The objective is to eliminate all the bad feelings inside your brain. Once you have defeated all the bad feelings, you can find your identity. The player must keep an eye on his energy level. Every action the player does costs energy. If the player is out of energy, the game is over. I made a turn-based paper prototype. The player begins with moving in any direction. The player can also dash, block, or attack. The dash is used for escaping enemies. The block is used for blocking the attacks from the enemies. When the player attacks, all enemies in range will die. Each action costs 1 energy. The player can perform 5 actions with a full energy bar. Energy takes 4 turns to regenerate. After the player moved, all enemies will move and perform a random attack in a random direction. If the player gets hit by an enemy, he loses 1 energy. The player can find energy pickups throughout the game. The objective is to reach a finish without running out of energy. This is the first version of my prototype. The player can walk around the map. The player has 3 actions: dash, block, and attack. The player has an energy bar. Performing a dash, block, or attack action will drain the energy bar. If the player is not performing an action, the bar will slowly regenerate. The orange cubes around the map are energy pickups. Currently there are 3 different types of enemies: big, medium, and small enemies. The big enemies have more health but are slower. The small enemies have less health but are faster. The enemies have 4 actions: an attack in 3 different sizes, and a block. If the enemies are getting damage, they can only use a block action. This is my second version of my prototype. I changed the energy values because the player had to wait quite a while after killing an enemy. Enemies also drop some extra energy when killed. Some enemies get stunned if their health bar is empty. The player must then go to the enemy and perform a kill action. I also added psychological effects. If the player's energy is below 25%, there is a chance the player will get a negative effect. The effects are decreased visibility, all actions locked, enemies deal 2 times more damage, or the controls of the actions will get switched. I also added a tutorial where the player can get familiar with all the mechanics. This is my third version of my prototype. I changed the energy values again because they were still not balanced. I added an enemy which has no health bar. The only way to kill the enemy is to push him off the platforms. The block action gives the enemies a knockback effect when he collides with the player. There is currently a bug with the dash mechanic, so I hope to fix this in my next version. In the final version of my prototype, I give the enemies a new attack move. Enemies will now shoot a fireball in the player's direction. These fireballs will explode on impact or after 3 seconds. I also changed the sky. The sky has an orange color in the beginning of the game and will slowly change to blue with each enemy the player kills. This represents the state of the player's mind. Orange means danger, while blue means rest. I changed the dash mechanic again because the dash was not consistent in previous versions. I also added some more player feedback. The color of the enemies will show what sort of enemy you're fighting. I also fixed some minor bugs and changed some small things in the level design.